Dajahaw, kumusta? My name is Victor, and today's video we're going to talk about DJI's over sharpening of their drone footage and how I fix it. Some people have already requested how I do it, and I'm going to show you guys how to. We're going to do everything in DaVinci Resolve, and if you don't know DaVinci Resolve, it's a free program from Blackmagic, and they have a free training online as well, and I highly suggest to try at least DaVinci Resolve. It's free. Everything's free, and it's a much better color grading tool compared to Premiere Pro and Final Cut, because this is the industry standard for Hollywood movies and like professional color grading workflows. So this will work in any footage that you have on your DJI drone, specifically the DJI Mini 3 Pro, and that you can shoot this in standard, profile, decent alike, or log. All of them are going to have over sharpening, and I just wish DJI had a custom setting in their drones to kind of dial down the sharpening in camera. Anyways, let's get into DaVinci Resolve. So what we're going to do here is kind of just start from scratch and reset all nodes, and I'm just going to have this little node right here. Okay, so we're just going to have a lot of these on here, and we're going to do adjustments. We're going to layer it down just to kind of have a little bit more of a structure. And let's see. So let's add in some new nodes. Here will be your color space transform, and then what we're gonna do now is this is your conversion LUT. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is that we're just gonna start off with trying to balance out the image to kind of have this standard picture profile. Okay, so first things first, what we're gonna do is that we are going to lift up the gain so that we retain a little bit of that highlight back, and then make sure to put down the lift so that the blacks are just about to hit bottom, and we're gonna hit the gamma, and then saturation, we're just gonna give it a little bit of a boost in there. 100% is kind of maybe a little too much, so I'm gonna go with 90. And again, this is going to be adjusted later on, and this is a little bit too much, so I'm gonna play with the curves here. And then highlights are a little bit too much for me. I like to color grade my footage like deep and moody, and also filmic. So now we're gonna go to CST and color space transform right here, and input color space. What we're gonna do is Rec 709 because we technically started from that. And then again, input gamma, Rec 709. Output color space would be Sony sgamut.cine. And we're gonna go to S-Log3. Now this is gonna convert it back to kind of a log footage. I mean, this is the way I do it. You can change this to whatever camera you want to match. This is just for me to fulfill my color grading workflow, and that to match my A7 IV as well. But again, whatever you're using, maybe you have a Red, maybe you have a Canon, maybe you have a Blackmagic, you can do that with this as well. If you did shoot with standard picture profile, you can skip step 1 and 2 in these two first nodes, and then go straight into color space transform and do this. Okay, now that we have the color space as S-Log3, what we're going to do is apply my S-Log3 conversion LUT, and this is kind of like my work in progress one. So what we're gonna do now is that we're just gonna tweak the footage a little bit more so that it gets me that look that I want. Okay, so I usually like to go through this first. Again, I like to push the image to the darker side. We're actually gonna bring up a little bit of this gain, the highlights, and then perfect. It's a little bit bluish on my taste, so what we're gonna do is like remove that a little bit on that look, and then there's a little red in here, that right there. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so I think that looks good, and we're getting to that, and we're gonna go to the curves. I love using curves because I can set it as moody as I can. I'm actually going to crush the blacks. This is just my taste. Definitely don't crush the blacks when you're trying to grade your footage, but I mean, I'm trying to get it as moody as I can, as filmic as I can. I mean, you can keep it that way, but to me, I like deep blacks. And then put the highlights a little bit lower and give the midtones a little bump on there so that there's a contrast between midtones and highlights. Okay, great. So now we have color graded. That's it. That's pretty much it. Now turns the effects, which is going to be, what are we looking for? We're going to go for halation. And do you see that? This is the halation right here. Oh, this is the halation right here. Another key thing is that why we set up the node tree like this is when you're adjusting your footage, you're supposed to adjust it between the color space transform and the conversion LUT, because on here you still get the latitude of a log footage compared to when you start over, when you play around with the Rec. 709 footage. I would say this is the baked in look. You don't touch this once you're done, and you do all your adjustments within the color space transform and the conversion LUT because it's within the log space. You get all the latitude in post, because if you do it CST and then conversion LUT and then you do your adjustments, you're restricting your edit into this little color space, into a Rec. 709 color space, where a S-Log3, you have this much room to edit or push your grade. Okay, so now we're going to add into the effects. This is the halation. As you can see here, if we zoom in, if we turn this off, this is the halation, like on the corners, on the highlights. This is a little bit too much for me, so we're just going to go a little strength on there. And then threshold. Perfect. All right, that's good. Now it's going to give us this filmic look. This is from film photography or film videography, cinematography. And it always gives you that halation. Next is glow. Halation. Next is glow. Sorry, before the halation, we actually need to do the blur first. So we're going to turn off the halation. And this is how we fix it's a simple fix, really. The over sharpening of DJI drones, right? So I'm going to go to blur, Gaussian blur, and it's a little bit too much, right? All we have to do is just give it a little bit of blur until the footage starts to kind of, we'll push it a little bit more, to be quite honest. 0.25. Perfect. There we go. So this is how far I would push it. This is like getting into mushy stage. This is with in-camera sharpening, and this is the fix. Okay, so this is with blur, and this is without. And I'll put it on side by side here so that you guys can see. And then now that we've got the blur, we turn on the halation again. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the glow. And if we make this like threshold really high, it's gonna glow all the highlights, right? So what we're gonna do is that just a little bit so that it blooms the highlights, kind of like a pro mist filter on your drone. So we're gonna put the spread a little bit to the lower side, and we're just gonna make sure that it blooms a little bit of the highlight, and that's it. That's it. Without it, with it, without it, with it. It's a little bit too much, I think, on here, but I mean, just for example. And then finally, we put film grain. Film grain is one of the best things because, again, I like to make my footage look filmic, and grain is a part of that characteristic and the texture. So what we're going to do is we're going to go grain strength right here. We're going to make sure it's tough and it's all there. Right now, I think it's a little bit too much, and that's fine. We're going to bring the opacity, and that's it. And here's the final footage and the breakdown of everything. And And that is how I color grade and fix the DJI over sharpening issue on their drones. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. And as usual, I'm giving away my S-Log3 luck pack. All you have to do to win is comment down below what you think about the DJI over sharpening issue and did we fix it in this video. Anyways, if you do want this luck pack now, it's available in the link down below. And at 10,000 subscribers, we are giving away a free camera. So stay tuned and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. 너와 나 우리의